We're on a case to solve a murder mystery, but instead of interviewing the suspects, we're going to interview the victim. Hello, my name is Justin, and welcome to Game On. Game On is a channel where we talk about RPGs and board games and everything in between that you would play on the tabletop. If that's the kind of thing that you'd like to watch more of, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you like videos like this, make sure to leave a like so that we know that you're interested in board games reviews. I hope you're having a better day than our victims. If you're watching this on the day that it releases, happy Halloween. This is our last Halloween video for 2021. And we're going to talk about one of the best board games that I have fallen in love with recently, Mysterium. Mysterium is a story-based board game, played less on the board and more just around a table with a group of friends. One player plays as the ghost, and the rest of the players play as the seancers, doing the best they can to figure out what the ghost is trying to tell them. Because this isn't a how-to-play video, I'll be brief on exactly how the gameplay goes. One player will play as the ghost, and the rest will play as the seancers, or the investigators, depending on how you want to call it. The investigators are given cards by the ghost, which, by the way, the ghost can't talk at all to the players. The players can talk to themselves because this is a bit of a cooperative game. Obviously, we like to try to be the ones who win, but as a player, you are trying to work with your fellow investigators and the ghost. The ghost is also on their team to help figure out who died, who they are, and how they died, where they died. How is this done? Well, the first time I played Mysterium, I opened it up and I said, this looks like Dixit. And for those of you who have played Dixit, you know that that is a game where you tell stories through pictures that you are given by a certain player and you have to interpret them. Turns out Mysterium is actually made by the same people who make Dixit. That's why it seems so familiar to me. The ghost has to give us cards by the hand that the ghost specifically drew. The ghost has to work with what they have, trying to give you clues on where they were murdered, how they were murdered, and who they specifically are. Problem is that the ghost won't always have the cards that they want because they are randomly shuffled and drawn. You might be given a card that's in a workshop, but the one thing that you have to worry about that card is that there's a saw in it, and that saw has metal. Maybe that ghost was murdered by something that has metal. Or maybe that ghost was murdered in a room that actually happened to have wood floors, but the only way that they could tell you was by showing you a wood shop with a whole bunch of timber in it. It's not easy, and it's one of those games where if you don't really know your players, your fellow players that well, it could be difficult, and that's why some of the people on Board Game Geek gave this a lower score than I think it deserves. So the ghost is going to hand you cards, and as a player, it's up to you to figure out how those cards match up so that you can successfully interpret what the ghost has and what story they are trying to tell you. It is very, very fun, in my opinion, going through this, and it is awesome when you can figure out what that ghost was trying to tell you, and when all your players kind of put your heads together and figure it out. Because there's no dice rolling, there's no investigation skill. It's literally your brains being put together like real investigators to try to figure out what this ghost is telling you. I will tell you this, it is a very different game if you play as the ghost or if you play as the players. The ghost can't talk, can't give any kind of facial expression. They basically have to put on their poker face. and do their best to not give any hints. The ghost wants you to win. The ghost is on your team actively, but the ghost can't say anything. They're only able to deal with the hand that they have been dealt. Now, the players have a very different experience because they can talk to each other. They can make wild speculations about what the ghost is trying to say to them. And in their roughly 7-ish turns that they can do it in, it is a very challenging but rewarding game that kind of helps you get into the mindset of what the ghost is trying to say, but also what your fellow investigators interpret pictures and items in. So I played this with the famous Spencer and Kevin, the two board game geeks that I play a lot of my board games with, and I asked them the same 3 questions that I asked about all the other games. The first question I ask is Mysterium something that you would put into your general rotation of games? And the answer is Spencer and Kevin already had it in their rotation. This is something that they'll play regularly. And Mysterium is definitely something I would play regularly with people. This is the kind of game where I can play it with my parents, because it's that simple. It's not really a complicated game at all. Its complication weight is way down. So if I feel like I can get my mom to play a board game which is just, a horror story in itself, I think that this is a game that just about anybody can enjoy. Second question I ask is, are you willing to pay full price for it? I paid $50 for this. I bought it at my favorite local game store. I would happily pay that much money for it again. That's how much I like this game. Spencer and Kevin will gladly pay that much money for it as well. As much as we like to save money, I would try to see if you could find it on sale, or if you had store credit at your favorite local game store, maybe spend it on this, but I'm more than happy to spend $50. The last question I asked was, is this something that you would break out at a Halloween party? Now, I know not every single Halloween party is a place to break out a board game, but I figured I'd ask because some parties I have been to have been full of spooky board games. And we all actually said yes. This is one of the few games that we would break out at a Halloween party, but not necessarily for the same reasons why you might think. Spencer actually had this amazing idea where if you just get a whole bunch of people of age drunk and playing this game, it would be hilarious because you are trying to basically interpret a drunk ghost's visions at that point. But it's so easy to learn and so easy to pick up. I mean, I know that Spencer, Kevin, and I are board game geeks, and we love board games, and we can pick up instructions quite easily. This game, it took less than 5 minutes for us to just be like, yep, okay, we got this, we can play this game. It is a very easy game to learn, and it is a very easy game to teach. So I suggest playing this game at any Halloween party that you can go to and get people to sit around the table with. This is a fun game. I don't care what Board Game Geek says. This is a fun game. So thank you very much for watching. This is the last video in the horror-themed October 2021 series. This video comes out exactly on Halloween, so I hope you guys have been enjoying. Let us know in the comments if Mysterium is a game that you want to give a shout out to, or if you want to try it. If you've liked it, please let us know in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button if you like stuff like this. Subscribe if you find tabletop gaming to be a hobby of yours and you want to talk more about it. Thank you guys very much for watching. My name is Justin, and as always, game on.